Hi, welcome to Microtechie YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to talk about summarizing formulas like SUMIFS, AVERAGEIFS, COUNTIFS, MAXIFS, and MINIFS. These formulas are very crucial if you are a person involved in creating dashboard and MIS reports. We are going to learn these formulas practically by solving certain questions from a data so you get a better clarity. Without much ado, let's get into the Excel screen and let's start exploring these formulas. Okay, we are now in the Excel screen. In case if you want to use this Excel for practicing or for working along with me during this video, I have provided you the downloadable link in the description section. You can download and you can work along with me. Now let's continue with the discussion. So what this data is all about is this visits made by the salesperson and whether when he visited the customer, whether he closed the sale or he did not close the sale is given in the form of deal one status, yes and no, and which product he has projected to the customer. And if it is a one deal, or that means if he has closed the sale, then what's the order value of that particular sales transaction. So this is a data what we got right now with this. With this, I'm going to put these formulas into action to get some information from which we can go ahead and do certain analysis. All right, so let's go to sheet 2 and let's see what are the requirements to be brought in this so that we can analyze the data salesperson wise and product wise as well. Now, basically the report what we are trying to prepare is a product level performance report. So we got a drop down here on the top right where we could select each product. So whenever I select a particular product, it has to show me salesperson wise what's the total order we got for that particular product, and what's the average order value we got for it, and what's the total visits each and every salesperson has made with respect to that particular product, the number of deals won, the number of deals lost, when that particular person joined. This is not related to the product side, but we still need it for a specific reason. I'll tell you at the end of the video why are we pulling this. Okay, and first sale done by that particular salesperson for that particular product, and when was the last sale done by the salesperson for that particular product. So all those we got to pull using the formulas like SUMIFS, COUNTIFS, AVERAGEIFS, MINIFS, MAXIFS. So let's start writing this formula one by one. Now, when I'm going to write this formula, I might have to keep switching between the sheet 1 and sheet 2 to select the respective columns for my formulas. To avoid that process, I'm going to make use of the table feature of Excel so that I don't have to physically come to the data sheet for selecting the columns for my formula. So first and foremost thing what I'm going to do is convert my raw data into a table. So how do I do that? I'm going to be inside the data and I'm going to go to the Home tab, under the Styles group, Format as Table, pick up a design, and it's asking me whether my data has a header and is it selecting my data properly. Perfectly okay with it. Now it got changed into a table. And now what are the next step I'm going to do is when I click inside the table, I can go to the Table Design tab where I have the access to change the name of this table. So I'm going to go to this place where I can change the name of this table. I'm going to change that from table 1 to the word master. So I'm going to change that to master. So from now onwards, my data is got into a table and the table name is master. Now let's get into the sheet 2 and let's start writing these formulas now. Okay, so remember each formula you're going to write should be related to the specific product which is going to be selected here and for the specific salesperson. So the difference between the normal total and conditional based total is what makes it to use sum and SUMIFS in different places. Here, even though the column header is total order value, I am not trying to get the total of entire order value here. I want the total order value for this particular salesperson and for this particular product which is going to be selected in the drop down. So I got two conditions here. So whenever you're performing condition based totaling, condition based averaging, counting, max or min, and those are the times where you got to think about these formulas which are ending with the word ifs, like sum ifs, count ifs, average ifs, max ifs, and min ifs. Now here we got two conditions for which you need to get the total. So let's go ahead and start writing this formula slowly. Equal to sum ifs, open bracket. The first input of this formula is sum range. Whenever you see the word range, it refers to column. Sum is nothing but which column values you want to add. That's the question. So the first input of this formula is give me the column which contains the values to be added. The column values which I want to add here is the order value. So if I have not converted my data into a table, I would have gone to sheet 1 for selecting that order value column. Because I have converted that into a table, now I'm going to enjoy the benefit of simply referring the table name. Now I'm inside the table. To access the columns, I'm going to put the square bracket that displays the available columns in my table. The column which I want to access is order value. So that's the one I'm just double clicking it and closing the square bracket. So that is my first input, which is sum range, column which has the values to be added, comma. I'm going to the second input which says criteria. Criteria means condition, range means column. So now it's asking, hey, in which column you want me to check your condition? We got two conditions here. One is on the salesperson and one is on the product. So we need to say which column are you going to check first. It doesn't matter. You can check the product first or you can check the person first. It's up to your requirement. Now I would love to start with checking the person first. So I need to get into the table and provide the column which got the salesperson name, which is salesperson. So I have picked up that column, so which is nothing but criteria range 1. Why am I getting criteria range 1? Look at very carefully here, criteria range 2. That means you can have multiple conditions in different columns, and that's the interesting part of this formula. It can handle multiple conditions for your summarization requirement, comma. Now it's asking simply the word criteria 1. So we do not see the word range here. So that means we do not have to feed a column. It's asking you for the condition value. So in salesperson column, which is the condition value I want to check? I want to check for the salesperson 1. So I can rather type something like this within the double quotes. I can type sales person 1, but I want to take it from the cell so that I can simply drag this formula for the rest of the salesperson. I don't want to get into this formula and change it for each guy. Instead, I can simply select the cell which contains the salesperson name, comma. Now it's asking criteria range 2 because I have another condition which is basically on the product, isn't it? So I have to give that column which contains the product. So again, I have to get into the table to access the columns. I'm opening the square bracket. The column where I'm tracking the product names are the projected product. I'm going to double click on it. Close the square bracket. So we have given the column for the next condition check, comma. Okay, I'm in the product column, but which product do you want to go and check? So I want to check the product which is available in this drop down. So I've selected the cell which got that drop down. So look at the formula and that completes. Now you can see I can put a comma and I can go to criteria range 3. If at all if I have a third condition to check, I can definitely go to that criteria range 3. But we got only two condition based total here. One is on the salesperson and one is on the product. And that is why we're going to close the braces over here. So we are done with the formula. Let's look at the flow of the formula one more time. The first input is the sum range, which is nothing but the column which has the values to be added. The second input is criteria range 1, which is condition column 1, which is on the salesperson. The third input is criteria 1. Okay, in the salesperson column, what's the condition you want to check is the salesperson name. The fourth input is criteria range 2, which is condition column 2, which is in our case is a product column. And the last input in the product column, what is the condition you want to check or which product you want to check for. And we selected the cell which was holding the drop down or which was holding the product name. So once we complete that formula, we hit enter and we're going to drag this formula. But before we drag this formula, one of the cell has to be kept constant, which is in our case the drop down cell which contains the product name, because when I drag it, this cell reference should not get changed. So I'm going to go inside my formula and go to the place where I've selected this cell, which is I1. I'm using the F4 key in my keyboard to get that $sign, and we are making that cell reference as an absolute reference, so it won't change when we drag it. So let's hit the enter and we're going to drag this formula down, and wherever I'm getting 0, which is implying that these are the guys who have never sold that product at all in the given period of the report. Okay, so now you got the total order value of that particular salesperson for that particular product. And let's try to change that drop down and let's see whether these values are changing. So when I go and change it to product 1, yes, it is changing the values. So we are able to see each product level, what's the total order value. So let's go ahead and get this done for the next columns now. All right, so the next column is talking about average order value. So let's go ahead and write the formula equal to average ifs, because this time it's a condition based average. The first input is average range. Which column values are you trying to take the average for? So in my case, it's on the order values. So master, which is our table name, square bracket to access the column. Order value is the column. We're going to pick that up by double clicking, close the square brackets. The first input average range is nothing but the numerical column which contains the values to be averaged, comma. So we go to the next input, criteria range 1, condition column 1, which is the salesperson column, which we're going to feed it, comma, which salesperson, this person, comma. The next column to check condition is on the product. So master, we go ahead and say the column which keeps a track of the product is projected product, comma. The criteria in that column is the value which we are holding it in the cell I1, which is on the drop down. We're going to make this particular I1 constant because we're going to drag it. We're going to close the braces, hit the enter, and we're going to drag this formula down. Now you can see there are places where we got 0. There are places where we got error. Now the places where we got error is a kind of issue that the denominator of the division is 0. Okay, so average is nothing but total divided by the count, isn't it? So we got a total, but we don't have a count, meaning this salesperson has not done any sales for this particular product chosen, but he has done sales in other. So total has been done, but when it is dividing it for that particular instances, we don't have the denominator. So we got an error. If you want to avoid these kind of errors in your report, you can prefix your formulas with if error. So I'm going to use if error. So do not show me the div 0 error. Instead, you show me 0. So that is better. So now if you could see it, I do not see that error. So if error, my actual formula, and after my formula is complete, I put a comma and I say 0, meaning if this average ifs gives error, don't display the Excel error, give me the 0. And that's how we replace that error. So let's go for the next question. We could see that we got the total order value, we got the average order value. Let's go to the total visits made by the person. Now we got the SUMIFS, we wrote the average ifs. Now let's go ahead and write the COUNTIFS, total visits made by this particular salesperson for this particular product. So let's go ahead and write equal to COUNTIFS because we want to count. Now this time there's no column to be added or column to be averaged. Here we just need to know the number of instances a combination is repeating, right? So it's asking column condition column 1, which is a column involved in the first condition for you is the salesperson column. So we're gonna say salesperson column, and criteria 1 in salesperson column, the criteria is salesperson 1, comma criteria range 2, condition column 2, which is on the product. So we're gonna choose the product column, which is under the projected product, comma, and the criteria is the respective product. And we're gonna make that cell constant so that it doesn't change when we drag it. Hit the enter, and we drag it down, and it says this is the number of visits done by that particular person. So if you see here, salesperson 2 has done 1 visit, but it was not a successful visit. The deal was not closed, nothing was sold. So his total is 0 and average is also 0. All right. So you got the COUNTIFS row. So now within the 3 columns, you wrote the SUMIFS, you wrote the AVERAGEIFS, and you wrote the COUNTIFS. Now let's go ahead and take this further, okay, to finish this one. Deals won visits. How do I know the deal is won or deal is lost? Watch closely on the data. Whenever the salesperson visits a customer and he projects a product, if the customer has agreed to buy it, the deal is won and the product is sold and we have a value. So now they're asking, okay, how many deals are won by that particular salesperson for that particular product? So we got 3 conditions here. One is on the salesperson column, we have to check for that particular salesperson. Another one is on the product column to check for the particular product. And on the deal 1 status column, we have to check for the Y, because that was exactly, it says the deal is won. Yeah. So let's go here and write COUNTIFS. The first column to be checked is the salesperson column, comma, and in the salesperson column, I want to check the salesperson name. The next column I want to check for is the product column. And in that, I want to check for this particular product, which I want to keep it constant. When I drag it, it should not change. Now, the next column I want to check for is the deal 1 status column. In that, I want to check for the letter Y, how many times this combination is coming. So this salesperson, this product where the status is Y. So we are trying to count that combination, and let's try to drag it for the rest of the cells. And you can see the first salesperson is totally has done 5 visits, but for that particular product, he has done 2 visits. Okay, sorry, totally for that particular product, he has done 5 visits. Out of the 5, he has won 2 visits. So the rest would be definitely 0. But let's go ahead and write this formula for the last also. I know you can copy and paste it, but still writing the formula one more time will give us much more confidence in writing such. So the first input is the column which I want to check for my first condition, which is a salesperson column. And then the next column, what I want to check is on the product column, which is this product. I want to make it constant, comma. Then I want to check on the deal 1 status, in which where I want to check the status N, which tells me the deal's lost. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this right now, and that is going to give me the results over here. Now the join date is something I want to pull it out for this particular salesperson, which we will handle it little later. Okay, let's move to the next one. So you could see here the numbers are tallying, the total visits made versus the won and the lost deals, which is perfectly matching right now. So let's go to the first sale closed by that salesperson for that particular product. That means, watch closely, the question is very tricky here. We need to find out when was the date, the precise date, okay, the first sale done by this particular salesperson for this particular product. So remember, dates are stored as numbers in Excel. Yeah. So when dates are stored as numbers in Excel, okay. For example, if this is our today's date, if I go and change it to a general, you can see the dates are stored as numbers. So all we need to find out is the minimum number for that particular combination. So here we are going to use the formula MINIFS to find out the minimum date in the date column, which belongs to the combination of this salesperson to this product. So it's asking, hey, in which column you want to search for the minimum? I want to search in the date column. So the date is captured under the column visit date, comma. The criteria column is the salesperson column, because I got two conditions here. The salesperson column. In salesperson column, I want to check the salesperson name. And the next condition column is on the product. I'm giving the product, and which product I want to search for is this product. I want to make it constant so that when I drag it, it should not change. So I close the bracket and hit the enter. Now it is a date, but it is coming in general format. Remember, I told you Excel treats your dates as numbers. So we're going to put this into a proper short date format. So we're going to drag this down, and this says this is the day deal was closed for this particular product for this particular salesperson. But see these dates where you see something a little strange here. Now, why I got 0001 1900 means, which is actually 0. You could see here, this particular salesperson has not even made one visit for this particular product. So obviously there's not going to be any date for that combination. So the 0 has been represented like this. So that is something which you need to take care. All right, so let's go to the latest one. So like you used MINIFS, here I'm going to use the MAXIFS because I want to know the latest date, the highest date for that particular combination. So MAXIFS, open braces. The column where I want to check for the highest is the date column, so which is the visit date, comma. Then I want to go ahead and check for the salesperson name in the salesperson column. And in the product column, I want to check for the product, which is here. I'm going to make it constant, close the braces, hit the enter, and we're going to drag this down, and we're going to change this to sharp date format. And there you go. We got the entire report filled up with the required data, whatever we need. I'm trying to make this little look good. Now, with regard to join date, okay, so remember, let's go to this report and watch it. The join date for that particular salesperson is always going to be one, same date. Or for example, salesperson 1 has joined on February 1st in 2018. So if you see next time when the salesperson 1 comes in, it's the same date again here. So can I use any of the formula here to get that particular, what would be that? So if I use a total, then what's going to happen is these two numbers will be added. I don't want that to be added. I want that to be returned as it is, whatever the date is. Probably I could use AVERAGEIFS because the number of times the values are going to be repeated, the number of times it's going to get divided. So the salesperson will be coming in only once with that date if I do. For example, if the salesperson 1 is going to come thrice, so when I take the average, total of that combination divided by the number of that combination, so which is going to be the same. Or I can use MAXIFS, or I can use SUMIFS. Okay, so anything is going to work. So let's check it out. Can I use AVERAGEIFS here? So let's go ahead and say AVERAGEIFS, and the column to be average is a join date. So master join date, comma. Column to check here is the salesperson name column. So let's pick up that, comma, salesperson. Now here the product is not going to come into picture because the person is not going to join for every product. So that is completely absurd. So it's not going to make sense here. So he has joined the company one particular day, and it's going to come only once. But here the report, that join date is kept repeating it. We just need to capture that. I know you can do this by using index and match or XLOOKUPs, but still I'm trying to show you that if you were a little smart enough, you can even get this done through these formulas itself from the report. So let's try to close this one and see whether we are getting that actual date when this person has joined. So you can see here, I'm going to pull out for the rest of the things. Yes, we could see it is pulling up the data. So let's cross check for the salesperson 2. He should have joined on 13th September 2020. So salesperson 2, let's capture him. Salesperson 2, do we have it anywhere? where here we go, salesperson 2. So he's joined 13 September 2020. So our formula is working perfectly fine. So guys, now I've shown you in this video that these formulas are actually trying to give you the summarized result out of the data which we had in sheet 1. Some of you might have a thought that I could have done this using pivot table also, but remember, whenever you create pivot table, it captures the data, stores the data in pivot cache, which is going to give a little bit of impact on the file size also. Whereas if you go via the formula approach, the file size issues will not be coming into picture. If you're managing a voluminous data and if you are creating dashboards through the pivot, I hope you guys will agree with me that the file size will shoot up like something if you have a lot of pivot tables in the same file. Even after keeping the source in a different file, we still face problems in the destination file because there are a lot of pivots. Whereas when you guys use these kind of formula approach to create dashboards, you do not land up in that issue of file size increasing like something. Now we have got a summarized result out of that data. Now what I want you guys to think about is, and I want you to mention that in the comment section, with these information, what kind of analysis I can do so that it helps the business to understand certain things, to take some decisions effectively. I'm just going to give you a thought process to start with, and you let me know what else you guys can think about from this summarized results, what kind of analysis we can do. So one thing which I would try to do here is I can bring out the top 3 performers on a product level, and I can also find out the winning ratio of a salesperson for the particular product. What else is something which I want you guys to mention that on the comment section. Let's hear it out from your side. Yeah. So that's it for this video. I hope this video helped you to understand this formula. If you got any feedback, do let me know in the comment section. Help me to come up with an improvised version in the next content when I'm going to connect with you again. If you like this video, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're watching our channel for the first time, please do subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues as well who could get benefited out of it. So until we meet next time, take care of yourself. Signing off. Hare Rama.